All right, so thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. A very good evening. For those of you who may not know me, I am Jaskiran. I am one of the community builders for the coaching journey community. And I'm truly happy and excited to bring this interesting session to you guys today. With us today is Coach Priyanka, and I'm going to read a little bit about Coach Priyanka for us. So, today's speaker, Coach Priyanka, is a certified life coach and success and performance coach with nearly 2 decades of experience in both the corporate and the coaching world. A former leader at Wipro and now the founder of Inspire Life, she empowers students and young adults to discover their clarity, confidence, and strength, and is a deeply passionate individual who works in awakening individuals to their true potential through continuous learning. And today, Priyanka is going to talk about neurodivergence. How can we identify that as coaches? What is the right place for us, considering it's also something which works in the domain of therapists? How do we go about it? What does ICF has to say about these things? And how do we ensure that our role as coaches and how do we support people who are neurodivergent? With that, Priyanka, welcome to our session and thank you so much for doing this with us.
Thank you, Jazz, and thank you all the community members for inviting me. Am I audible? Loud
Yes.
enough? Yeah. All right. Right. So a topic that is very close to my heart. And let me begin with sharing my slides with all of you. Just a second. Put it on the Yeah, so my slide is visible.
Yes.
All right, let's go ahead.
Just a side note before we begin, Priyanka. In
Yeah.
the meanwhile, if anybody from the audience has any questions, feel free to drop them on the chat. We will try the last 15 minutes of the session will be an open Q&A where we will be discussing your questions. Thank you.
Yeah, that'll be great. So, all right. So, genius within neurotypes is what I want to call this neurodiversity. And let's begin with understanding what do we mean when we say neurodiversity. So, this is a definition that I love. It says that the term neurodiversity describes differences in the way people's brains work. The idea is that there is no correct way for the brain to work. Instead, there is a wide range of ways that people perceive and respond to the world with varying strengths and weaknesses. So, so a typical way of looking at somebody who may be struggling with neurodiversity, an adult or a parent who has a child who is struggling with neurodiversity, the first thing that comes to our mind is their weaknesses, their struggles, their challenges. But what I sort of bring in to my coaching practice, and which I would also encourage all the wonderful coaches to do, is to start focusing on the strength side of it and to start looking at it as a way for the brain to work. Because what we look at is limitations, challenges, but what there are is possibilities. Because history is full of people who were ADHD and dyslexic and who today are doing extremely well. And probably we as neurotypical beings may be limited in some way, but they are not. But that comes with a lot of support from the environment. So we'll get to that as we go on, because I think that is where our role as coaches come. We cannot we are not the right experts to provide them with all the resources, uh, but we definitely can be the one that can direct them and guide them to those resources, and can be the ones like the flag bearers or the cheerleaders for telling them that this is not limitation, it's a strength, and let's start working towards it, or let's start creating a roadmap towards it, right? So, and in some ways, each one of us thinks, learns, communicates, and processes things differently. So, a tolerance to how someone may be different also comes into play here. Like society is not very accepting of differences. We all want people to be like us, yeah, think like us, act like us. So this is where coaching bridges that gap. What are the types or different types of learning difficulties? And before that, I would like to talk about learning disability also here. So sometimes these terms, learning disability and learning difficulty, are used interchangeably. Uh, of course, I'm not an expert because psychologists and special educators are the best people to talk about these topics. But because I have worked with special educators, some of the best special educators, what, in their opinion, learning difficulty is all of these that we are looking at in the slide in front of us. And learning disability can be retardation, like mental retardation, which there is no way to reverse mostly. Yeah. But when you look at the websites and various resources, sometimes they do use it interchangeably, right? Uh, but learning difficulty is something that is, again, like how we said, neurodiverse, where the brain functions differently. And, these things, a child may have something, some amazing strength that we have not looked at or has not been unearthed so far. Yeah. So autism spectrum conditions are the number one on the list here, and the the main condition in a child or in adult that may be in the spectrum is that they have social anxiety is one of the main this thing. Autism spectrum can be from low to high. So someone who is low on the spectrum might have low social anxiety and might be comfortable with some people, but mostly they avoid eye contact. They don't want to be touched. They don't want to engage in a conversation with strangers. And but there may be other things that they may do amazingly well. you know there are children who are found to be amazing in extremely intelligent when it comes to physics, chemistry, maths, but when it comes to engaging socially with their peer group or even with strangers in house, they were not comfortable apart from people who they are very close to. When it comes to attention deficit disorder, it can be attention deficit hyper uh, activity disorder or ADD. So the only difference here is that attention deficit disorder, which is also called ADD, is where a child lacks attention. And ADHD, which is hyperactivity disorder, a child may be hyperactive and lacking in or have facing attention deficit, broken attention he may be facing. Dyslexia, I think, is the most common one. We have you seen the movie Tare Zameen Par? Do you, any of you remembers that movie? I think that is one movie that gave us a great insight into dyslexia. That how the child could see the alphabets flying. So this is exactly somewhere between vowel sounds that might seem like I and E, U and O. So these sounds they really struggle with, which becomes a struggle in writing, reading, and so these children are mostly struggling in academics and are not at par with their class, right? Dyspraxia is fine motor skills and gross motor skills. So an example of this would be tying your shoelaces or buttoning your shirt. These are things they are slow at and they have to be trained differently. Even playing football, gross motor skills are required, cricket, all sports. We don't realize because, but uh, when someone struggles at home with these things, how many how many tasks in our home require us to have fine motor skills, like little tasks, and when children struggle with that, it just becomes a huge challenge at home. So dyscalculia is the last one. It is where as I think the name suggests, you might have guessed, it's about calculation issues. Maths, numerical numbers is something that they face a lot of challenge with. So these are the mainly, there are more. I wouldn't say that this list is complete. There are more, but these are more common. These are, there is visual perception issues also. But this is something that we see more commonly when we come across individuals with any kind of learning difficulty. Now, what are the signs of learning difficulty, typical signs that we might see in children? Like I said, in autism, there is definitely difficulty with social interactions, clumsiness, uh, heightened anxiety, difficulty with focusing or staying still. They constantly want to engage with some or the other task, moving from one task to the other, sensitivity to light, sound, touch, and smell, repetitive behaviors, routines, and behavior issues, which is a result of all of this because they find it very difficult to process what's going on in their own minds and how people are dealing with them. So that results in behavior issues. So, I'm sure we all are aware of all most of these issues. Sensitivity to light, sound, touch, and smell is something that I got to know from one of my clients whose child was struggling with academics in the class, and on some days her performance would be great, on other days she would not be able to perform. So she just asked her daughter that why is it that on certain days you're so good and on the other days you struggle. So she said that, Mama, every time my mom changes my seat, I just lose focus. So but is it related to just changing the seat and all of that? And when the mom sat with with the teacher in the parent teacher meeting, they figured out that every time they would move the child near the air conditioning, the child would lose focus because the sound would disturb her. So they're so sensitive sometimes. And as parents and people who are supporting them, they have to be sensitive or patient and observant to these, little things. And I'm sharing all of this because it's important to understand. Because when we're working with our clients, they might say something and it might ring a bell that, okay, can this be it? Um, and there's another list of challenges that I've just shared with all of you, which I'm going to probably share with Jas, and she can share with everybody. Like they have a poor memory. And it's not that everyone who shows these signs is neurodiverse, but it comes as a way of for us to see that, okay, this might be a symptom and let's go for a diagnosis. Yeah. So, delayed speech development, disorganization, some of them are highly disorganized, trouble with listening and following instructions, restlessness and impulsiveness, tendency to act out, resistance to change is a big one. They're not okay with their teachers changing. Even adults sometimes are not okay with people in their environment changing. At workplace, they're not okay with departments changing, inconsistent performance on a daily, weekly basis. So it sometimes is very surprising because someone who might seem very sharp today, tomorrow might sound the dumbest person because it just sort of changes on a weekly basis. They are not able to do things to the same level of performance that they were able to do until yesterday. Tendency to reverse letters. This is something which a dyslexic child will show. uh, Difficulty with reading, writing, inability to distinguish between sounds, difficulty sounding out words. These are all dyslexia. Tendency to put numbers and letters in the same sequence. Time, telling time. Time can be also an issue with these children because they might, we suppose you tell them that it is 4 right now. By 5, you should finish this and then we can go out. So they might not be able to respond to that great in the right manner. They either lose track of time or they're not able to sort of process that really well. Confusion between left and right, grasping different words, difficulty expressing thoughts and emotions, poor hand-eye coordination, and short attention span. So right now you may be saying that I've given you so many list of challenges, and here I'm saying that there are strengths. But actually, I will share with you case studies of clients that I worked with, and how when we were able to ignore these, or manage these, rather not ignore, manage these in a better way, how a lot of strengths from these kids were brought out. So, how do we then? What is the first step for parents to do? And this is if the parents are not even aware, but you in your conversations have evaluated that, okay, this sounds like the child has some sort of learning difficulty, and a client comes to you with struggling with a defiant child, or child with behavior issues. So the first thing is diagnosis, and to diagnose, and there are evaluations that happen at mostly all the hospitals, Max Hospital, Noida, Fortis, Gangaram. There are psychologists that are certified to do run these tests, battery of tests on the children. Some are written, some are spoken, somewhere they'll interview, and they'll give a very detailed report on uh, the child's you know how they're processing information, and what exactly is the kind of learning difficulty that they're facing, or is it really learning difficulty, or is it really something else, so that one can then take the next step. If any if the diagnosis says that there is a learning difficulty that exists in the child, then it's important that they have a special educator. And the school that the child is studying in is a school that provides special education, or provides the environment for the child to, teachers are aware. Uh, the surrounding support staff is aware of what neurodiversity is. Because if these things are missing, then the child is going to struggle a lot. And of course, the same is true for an adult. So if we are talking to an adult in a session and they seem very different in every session, and we identify the last list of challenges that they're showing signs of that, then again, a diagnosis is the first step. And I know it can be difficult to suddenly ask someone to just get them go for a diagnosis, but that's something, where a coaching conversation comes in. Uh, and structures and systems is the last step, because they respond amazingly well to structures and systems. So to give you an example, if a child is who has any type of neurodiversity or learning difficulty is growing with a family, or is an adult in a family that has no structure, no sleeping, waking time, no eating time, everything is okay, no schedule, they are going to be facing lots of challenges. Whereas if you bring in any kind of right habits and structures into their world, they respond very well to them. So when I say eating habits, I also mean the amount of nutrition that they get, so that their brains can function properly. So that is where structures and systems come into play. And this is something that you can also bring into your coaching conversation, through questions when you find someone struggling with that. So here is a slide on we understanding the life of a parent or an adult that is living with a neurodivergent kid, or an adult who himself or herself is neurodivergent. The first thing that they face is lack of acceptance. If I am ADHD, it'll be difficult for me to accept it. Oh my God, I have this, you know. And if a parent suddenly wakes up to the fact that, okay, my child is struggling because probably there's dyslexia, dysgraphia, dyscalculia, or there is ADHD, the first thing that they face is lack of acceptance. They don't want to accept. They want to hide in their shell. There's so many fears that crop up, but this is the first thing that they face. Uh, Lack of support, fear of being judged, fear of being labeled, fear of failure, fear of child's failure. If it's a parent, and fear of failure if as an adult I am and ADHD. Fear of being compared, and then undiagnosed learning difficulty is where one does not know but is facing lots of challenges. That's the worst uh, space to be in for an adult, right? So this is, I think, if we get this, uh, coaching from here becomes very intuitive and very flowing. But if we are not able to get a grasp of this, if you're not able to get a grasp of our client's mind and their hearts and their world, then we will not be able to take them to the next step. So our ability to be able to, see how they're living their every day, each day, the kind of struggles and challenges that they're facing, if that is missing, then our questions will not lead to much, right? Do we agree to that? Yeah. So, all right. So the challenges are not just academic or learning. The challenges are emotional, they are social and academic, right? And for an adult professional, growth completely stops for them at a workplace that does not understand what learning difficulties can bring in, the kind of challenges. Uh, for a child who is neurodivergent, the main challenges that they face is low self-worth. They grow up with massive low self-worth because imagine being in a classroom where everyone is understanding some things and calling them basic, and you're not just even getting a hang of it. Like you're just looking at it like, oh my God, what is it? French? Yeah. So they develop low self-worth, bully. They are very susceptible to bullying because they already are judging themselves, and for others to bully them is very easy because they're soft targets, easy targets. Yeah. They feel misunderstood. And for a child to feel loved and supported is most important. And here they're growing up with feelings of unloved and unsupported, because love, support, belonging, connection is a child's food. That's what that's what nurtures them. That's what nourishes them. That's what brings in self-worth. And self-worth is very different from self-confidence. While we're talking about this, like, self-worth is something which can be compared to the roots, and self-confidence can be the branches of a tree. So you may have beautiful branches for a while, but if your roots are weak, then those branches are going to come down eventually. But if we are bringing up a child who is anyways neurodivergent and is growing up in an environment where his self-worth is not being nurtured, that can be difficult. So understanding this while coaching a neurodivergent uh, adult, child, or a parent of a neurodivergent kid is very, very important. This is where coaching will work. This is where it'll work because the rest of the work special educator would do. Our work would be to nurture their hearts. Yeah. So the coaching strategy here, until here, anyone has any questions, we can just do a 2 minute sort of a.
We do have some questions in the chat, Priyanka, but I think we can
We
take it
should
at the end.
at the end. All right. Yeah. Let's not break the
Sure.
momentum. Yeah. All right. So this is my strategy, and you can design your own strategy, of course. Like each one of us is very, very creative. When I started to see that I am getting parents who are or adults who are struggling with learning difficulty, I designed this for my own self. So step one for me was to understand where parents or adults are in their own level of acceptance. What neurodiversity or what does their learning difficulty mean to them, on a scale of 1 to 10. This is very important before I take them any further. um, then what are their fears? If their acceptance is low or high, what exactly are their fears? Are they someone who fear the future? Are they someone who have fear of being judged? Are they in fear of comparison? This step is very, very important for you to state it right out, because this is, if you are not working on their fears and you're coaching them on neurodiversity or on learning difficulty, uh, you will have left the foundation undone. You know, so that is why it's very important to, and I have made that mistake. So, it's very important to see what their fears are and get them out of the way, or keep dealing with them as we go through the coaching session. If it's the adult, it's different. But if it's a child that we are dealing with, whose parents are taking sessions from us, it's important to connect them to the child's world. Why? Because most parents are dealing with shame and comparison. They are still in a bubble of shame, where they are thinking that, how do I face people? The most comments that I get from parents is how in the PTMs they have to go through so much shame because the teacher says, "ये तो ये भी नहीं करता, ये तो वो भी नहीं करता." She does not like to study, she's lazy. So they start to label the child. And when the teachers start to label, the parents also start to label. And what that does to the child, we all, I'm sure, will know. So help them connect to the child's world, help them see that a neurodivergent child thinks differently. They are not a set of weaknesses. There are strengths hidden in them once we are ready to, sort of work on the weaknesses and not make them, or not make their weaknesses as their labels. Lazy, slow, bad writer, can't read. Yeah. So get them off the labels and help them understand that there are strengths hidden somewhere, which will come out by the process of accepting the child, number one. And so just to give you an example, so when all of us, I'm sure, are aware that when uh, we become parents and our children start to grow, they start to push our buttons, and they start to open our wounds. Any parents here? They start to open the wounds. Yeah, right. So imagine what it is like for a child with learning difficulty. It's 100 times more for them. So that is why it's very important for them to do all these three steps before we get into any other kind of coaching. The acceptance for what their child is going through, they're stating their fears out and helping them see that they are not the ones struggling. Their child is also struggling. He's not lazy, he's not slow, he's not a loser, he's not a failure. He's just different right now, and we have to be able to see that difference as strength only when we are ready to surpass the social norms and social pressure and comparison, the fear of being judged and the fear of PTMs and the fear of teachers saying this thing. Yeah. So uh yeah. So I'll take up the coaching questions, but before that, I'd just like to share that I worked with the 5 or 6 children, or parents of children who were facing this issue. And one of the parent, I was coaching her for her own. It was a mother who wanted to start something new. She had been not working for quite a while, but every time I would take her a step further, she would go 10 steps back. And it is only after 3 or 4 sessions that I could figure out that probably she's dealing with a neurodivergent child, because most of her time would go in teaching the child and managing the child. And over a period of time, I got to know that she's spending hours teaching that child, but he's still not learning. He's still not getting anywhere. So they were stuck at step one, where acceptance was zero. She was not ready to accept that her child has dyslexia. So they had done the diagnosis. The diagnosis was done. There were reports. The teachers also had taken the report and accepted the fact. But despite the report, the mother continued to teach the child the way she would a neurotypical child, right? So my role came in when I helped her see her fears and get her fears out there. Because her mind was full of anxiety of the child's future, that if he's 10 right now and he's in fourth and he's not able to write the sentences, then how will he do the paragraphs? And then how will he crack a competitive exam? And then, so many fears. So first was to deal with this. And then was to connect her to the child's world and see that you have to see right now where he is. You can't make him write paragraphs when he's struggling with sentences. So, the most important, the most grave mistake that parents do is when they want to take the child or get the child to the speed of a neurotypical child and try to teach the child for hours and hours, get tuition teachers and everybody, it slows the child down. Plus, it just diminishes their self worth, you know, because they also feel that after hours of studying, they are still nowhere. So the right approach is first approach is to see where the child is, to see where the child is and continue to make them do what they are good at and tell them, wow, this you do so well. That's great. So first is to make the academic or the study time or the connection time fun for them. Otherwise, a hatred for alphabets, numbers, or whatever, like if they're dyslexic or dyscalculia, whatever their challenge is, they will start to hate and they will do everything to run from that time. Yeah. So when she understood that her child is struggling with 7 letter words or 8 letter words, uh, and she decided to do 5 letter words with the child, and he was able to do it really well. And he started having fun because he could see that, yeah, he's winning here. You know, children want to see themselves winning. And that is what got him motivation to get to the 7 and the 8 letter words. The difference was that the child himself said, and Mama, I think I'm more comfortable here. Can we get to statements? I want to get to the level of my, you know, other kids in my class. And the mother cried that day because the power struggles had turned into fun, you know, into child saying that, okay, I want to get to the next stage, you know? Yeah. So that is very, very important to understand the child's world and release all the fears of society, comparison, teachers, uh, and the peer group, and just be present with the child, understanding the child or the adult, whoever we're dealing with, and see where they are and appreciating them for where they are, helping them develop self worth for things that they do well. Yeah. And then the next is the coaching questions that I designed for my clients, which you guys are free to take. And of course, once we start working with them, our own mind starts to work creatively and we start designing our own questions as well. So, what I do and begin with once I have established that what their acceptance level is that I ask them to take me through one of the toughest day in their lives in the last week or the last month, because then I get a hour by hour detail of how they're living. You know, what's happening. Are they kind of structured people or are they kind of disorganized, not very well planned? It gives you an insight into that, of course, without judging, without in a very non-judgmental manner, just understanding where they are. Uh, then, how do you feel generally? How do you feel about what's going on in your life right now? How do you handle the difficult emotions that, oh, sorry, I haven't completed the questions. How do you handle the difficult emotions that are brought out when we are dealing with a child who is neuro diverse? What helps a child develop high self-worth? What is your child's biggest strength? What are the other things about your child that you love and admire? So, you know, these questions that are bringing them to what they can love about their child. What does your child's learning difficulty make you feel? Like, what does it make you feel? Helpless, powerless, fearful? Yeah, and helping them then deal with those questions. So I have not given them as a set of sequence. These are just random questions that I use depending on where the client is. What brings out the best in your child? What brings out the worst in your child? How do you manage meltdowns? How do you handle a drop in performance? Does your presence make the child feel loved or judged? What kind of support would you need to bring out the best in your child? So we are just sort of steering them towards the child's strengths, the child's, best. performance. Can you take me through your day again? We've done that. How do you take care of your emotions? Very, very important. Like we can do one complete session on them handling their emotions and emotional awareness because that is everything. One episode of them or one or two episodes of them making or labeling the child can scar a child forever. You know, I remember one child who was struggling. So this mother daughter were taking sessions from me, and while I was talking to the child, I asked her that what is the worst that you've heard that has really sort of stayed with you forever from your mother, and she said that my mother once said that why were you even born? And this is a mom who really, really loved her child. So I'm sure she never meant it, but it came out on a day and a time uh, when she was really going through a lot. So this is what emotions can do to us, to a loving mother, and that is why we also have to take care of their emotions around what is happening and keep our coaching sessions also centered around what's happening inside you. How is this bringing out your wounds, and how can I help you manage your emotions better? And do you know some of the successful people that have dyslexia and ADHD? So also helping them do their research that, okay, probably in this session, I'll give you a week, go back, search that are there some people who have done well and are yet dyslexic and ADHD. And I think history is full of such people. You've heard of Richard Branson, yeah, the entrepreneur who's now coaching many, many entrepreneurs and providing funding and mentorship. In his, I think he's in his 70s now. He was a dyslexic. He left school at the age of 16 or 17. He could not study anymore. He could not relate to the written letter. But if you see Wikipedia, he has multiple businesses that he started, a series of businesses, and Virgin Atlantic is, what we know him by. But there are multiple other businesses that he started, and uh, so we have quite a few such examples. In fact, some people say Albert Einstein also had learning difficulty, but I'm not sure about that. But the examples in our everyday life. I have a friend who is still taking sessions from me. Is a very successful entrepreneur. He is owner of a software sort of engineering organization, and he's an ADHD, and it's like not a low level of ADHD, it's high level of ADHD. And it is also, some people say that, some special educators also say that, ADHD gives you a kind of divergent way of thinking that helps you handle multiple things at the same time. So for an ADHD, how they're different is that when they're studying, they might need something else to do, probably listen to music or fiddle with a stress ball or a spinner or something that can take care of the noise inside them. And there is a lot of noise inside their brains that's happening while they're trying to focus on something else. So imagine trying to focus while there's already some sound going on inside you, right? So these are the challenges that they face, and if we're ready to get into their world, they open up to us. Um, uh, it's very, very important that in our communication, we are not just using the right language, but our eye contact, our body language, our tonality is all full of support. Because communication, of course, we all coaches know that communication is not just about the right words. It's also about the whole of us. And nothing about us should make them feel that they're being judged, because they might disclose information to you that is very different from what you've heard so far in your neurotypical lives. And that might be like, oh my God, does this happen? So those are the reactions we have to work with. And if suppose in one session they see us as judgmental or as, and they're very susceptible to it, they're constantly looking at you because they, remember, they are in a world that is constantly looking at them and judging them. So they are very, very, their antennas are very open to judgment. And they might check, they might be the first people to sort of evaluate judgment in your tone, in your eye contact, in your body language. So we have to really drop all the judgment, um, all the noises that are going on our heads about them when we are talking to them and when we are with them, 100% present. And believing, like how ICF also says in coaching, that believing that we are coaching uh, a person with immense potential, immense potential. And neurodivergent kids are geniuses sometimes. So that's what we must think when we start our session, that okay, I'm going out to coach a genius today. Let me bring out the genius in them if it's not visible, right? Yeah. So yeah, let's take up the questions now.
Sure, Priyanka. So, thank you so much for sharing this information. We do have a couple of questions. So, the first one comes from Ajit. He wanted to know whether there are any specific to do and not to do when dealing with a neurodivergent client.
Mm, very specific to do or not to do.
Thank you so much. I was about to drop, so thank you. I'm glad that my question is being picked up. Thank you.
Thank you, Ajit. Thank you. Like I think in the last line, what I said was that um, it's very, very important that we do not come across as people that are judgmental, and the words we use, the vocabulary that we use in talking to them is very important. They should not be labels like, okay, and because they are very, very susceptible and already sensitive to that. That is how the world has treated them so far. So the choice of words that we are using in talking to them, we have to be extra careful, extra sensitive to that. Communication, like I said in the last bit. And it's very important that we talk to them if we are sensing something and they have not gotten their diagnosis, and we talk to them about it in a very sensitive manner. Yeah. And not towards the start of the session, somewhere sandwich it between bringing out their strengths and talking about how this condition uh, is something that will also help them in the future. Is not all weakness, is also strength. But diagnosis is just a way for them to be able to deal with the challenges that they've faced so far. So to give you an example, if you have an adult client who is an ADHD, they may be facing a lot of social challenges, or they may be having difficulty making friends. They may be having difficulty focusing in boardrooms, conferences. They may be having difficulty taking instructions from their bosses. Now, you can use this information to help them see that. So, how committed are you? You can tell them that how committed are you to ensure that you are able to develop great relations with your peer group, you are able to respond amazingly well to your bosses, and if I can tell you a way, would you be open to it? Right, like preparing them like that, and then telling them that you seem to be a very high potential person who seems to have slight amount of ADHD, and it is a condition that comes with some weaknesses and lots of strengths. Yeah. So far, because you have only been shown weaknesses, uh, it might sound like, why am I asking you for a diagnosis? But believe me, eventually, once you go for a diagnosis, you get the right methods and ways to manage your ADHD. You will see that all the challenges you're dealing with will dissolve, and there'll be only strengths. So, so that's an example of someone who may be, yeah. And I have dealt with that. Like it's a real example, an adult who was struggling with depression, ADHD, and anxiety.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Priyanka. The next question is an interesting one. It is from Jesse. So Jesse mentioned that 30 years ago, these neurodivergent challenge were unheard of. How is it today they are coming up so frequently?
Hmm, that is a question I may not be the best person to answer, but I can just give you my opinion that probably they were still there, but there were not enough research around
Right.
it.
Right.
There was not enough research around it, and there are in fact, my husband once told me that, all these symptoms I had of an ADHD. And if there were ways and methods to teach how these kids are being taught or how they are dealt with today, probably I would have been at a better place emotionally, socially. So yeah, I mean, there's this research, and probably uh, also because our way of life has also changed. What we eat, what we see, social media is also adding to it. In fact, Jessica, a very good special educator, told me that after COVID, there were a lot of cases of ADHD because children exposed to social media were developing more and more ADHD. So yeah, I think one could be that there were still people that were dyslexic, but it was undiagnosed. They were just called stupid, या बुद्धू है, पढ़ नहीं पाता, मन नहीं लगता पढ़ाई में. They were labeled as lazy. Now neurodivergence is not just labeling people. We are coming up with ways and methods and strategies to help them um, learn and find study and academics fun. Does that answer your question? I don't know if fully, but yeah.
I think I mentioned the same thing on the chat as well, that when it comes to neurodivergence, it's both nature and nurture. And the fact that we are having a conversation around this with this vehemence in today's time is because over the years, research has started to understand how neurodivergence happens, what are those patterns in the brain that makes you a different personality,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
We have another question that's again from Jissy. Does it get better over time?
Yeah, it does. It does get better. The managing it gets better. Like if it's managed well, if systems and structures are brought in, and if the right kind of lifestyle is maintained, it does get better. Definitely.
Right. One more question. Do schools give preference to ADHD students, like more exam time, etc.?
Yeah. 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 There are such privileges that school give. If you get diagnosis and reports done from the certified bodies, Uh, and if you are getting diagnosis done, the school should be kept in loop. And it should be, you can take the numbers of doctors and the right psychologists from the schools itself because they have to be CBSE certified. You just can't get a report from anywhere. And when the report says that, then they definitely provide more time. Scribe is provided to the child. In fact, you can also choose subjects that are easier. And the syllabus is also sometimes, some schools provide the syllabus being reduced for the child.
Great. One more interesting question is from Amber. She's asking what's your view on Gabor Mate's ADHD conception, because he talks about trauma and how ADHD is also self-inflicted as a trauma response. So any thoughts on that, Priyanka?
That's interesting. I have not thought about that. But so what you mean is that ADHD can develop and can be a trauma response. That's the question, right?
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, it can be actually. It can be absolutely. For someone who has been through a lot of trauma can show signs of broken attention disorder, or can start to develop these symptoms of not being able to focus for a long span of time. And then if the diagnosis says ADHD, then
Yeah. Yes, Amber mentions that sometimes it's a misdiagnosis of trauma, and following Gabor Mate's work, I think he does have a little bit of research happening on this area. But it's
okay.
again, it's both nature and nurture in most of the cases.
Yeah.
All right. So, any more questions from the audience? I see beautiful coaches out there. Would love to see you on camera if you can.
I don't have a question. I'm Shri here. Priyanka, thank you for the work you're doing. My heartful gratitude. It is
Thank
not
you.
easy what you're doing. It's very sensitive. It's a path that is not tread very easily and often. Thank you. I
Thank you, Shri.
I work with parents and children who go through gender identification, and it's a very sensitive area, and I know what it is. I know what you're through too. So my heartful gratitude. Continue the good work. Best wishes. I'm extremely sorry I'm not able to come on camera, but I came in to understand this space because I have not touched this space. Thank you, Jazz. Thank you, Jizzy, for bringing this topic to the forum. And yeah, thank you. Thank you to all.
Thank you, Shri. It means a lot. It means a lot that you've also joined this session and love the work that you're doing. It's so important that we coaches are, touching these areas that are so important.
Yeah.
And just since we've taken the questions, I also wanted to share some resources
Yes.
that have helped me. So somewhere down the line, I also studied about energy medicine. I don't know if you guys have heard of energy medicine. If not, then you can do a little bit of research on it. It's a beautiful way of uh, getting better at understanding ourselves. So the first resource that I've shared here is Brain Good Posture. It's a kind of an exercise that works amazingly well with dyslexic children. So I'll share the slides and you guys can take a look at the links in the YouTube videos. Wayne Cook posture helps in bringing clarity and comprehension, which and reducing confusion. So when a dyslexic child does this exercise over a period of time, it has been found that they have been able to manage their dyslexia better. And in fact, these children have also become good book readers. They struggle with words and alphabets and then they turn into readers. So when someone asked that is it possible that it changes, yeah, it does. It can be. uh, if the parents level of acceptance is high, there's no limit to what can happen. you know then there is this another exercise, mindfulness using bubbles. It's mindfulness again, like I forgot to share that mindfulness practices, if family can bring into their world, it helps immensely. It just proves a lot of help to a child who may be, or an adult who may be struggling with neurodiversity, any type. It just sort of opens up their mind, and on a gradual basis, you might see changes in them that were otherwise not there, and it brings out their strengths out faster, right? Like if someone is great with physics or maths, or if someone is suppose a very good debater, or if someone is a very good artist or a musician, but because of their ADHD is not able to bring out that, because attention deficit disorder can just snub everything else, every part of the brain. But when mindfulness is brought in, then the musician in them or the artist in them can come out faster. The third is calm the icky feelings down, and this is for both parents and kids. Like, how do you manage emotions when you faced bullying at school? How do you manage when you feel compared in a PTM? How do you manage feelings when, even for parents who go to social gatherings and someone is talking about their child, or winning a medal in Olympiads, and your child here is not able to write a statement, right? How do you manage that? So these are some tools and resources to help them manage their feelings. Spinal flush, I couldn't arrange a video, but you can take a note of this. Spinal flush is a very good energy medicine exercise which helps bring aggressive emotions down. So what happens with diverse kids is that because they face so much rejection in the day, that sometimes they can start feeling they can start showing behavioral issues. New behavioral issues might come up, defiance, aggression, breaking things. So this can come in really handy for a parent like that. So this is magical. Spinal flush is magical, even for us. Like I give it to most of my clients, the ones that are facing like a wide range of emotions, and this helps, but even more for parents and kids that are neurodivergent. So that's the end of it.
Thank you so much, Priyanka. I think
Yeah.
not only was this session inspiring, I think it was so informative. All of us have taken so much out from this session. And yeah, I think this was a wonderful space. Thank you so much for allowing us to poke a little, understand the difference between a neurotypical and a neurodivergent brain. And I'm sure now we can feel a little more confident when we go back to our coaching spaces, understanding, picking up on those subtleties, and helping our clients better.
I'm glad I could be of help. I think this is, I loved every minute of it. If it did help everybody, I loved every minute of it, because this is one space where I really want to make more and more difference in whatever way that I can. Thank
We'll,
you for giving me that opportunity.
absolutely, Priyanka. We'll keep coming back to you for more.
I would love that.
Yes. Yes, Navneeta, the recording will also be available. And thank you so much, everyone. We'll be posting about this on our LinkedIn group as well. Let's show a little bit of love and encouragement so that more coaches can join and become more aware about this important topic. And we'll keep asking Priyanka for more interesting insights as we go forward.
Yeah. Anytime you can bother me as much, and it's not going to be a botheration. That's a wrong word to use. You can uh, keep coming back. And all the links that you guys are saying, I'll share it with Jess,
Yeah.
and then she can pass it on in the group. Yeah, yeah. In fact, the contact numbers of the hospitals, doctors, whatever I have, and the school educator, the person that I'm referring to owns two schools in Delhi, Noida, that only deal with neurodivergent kids, and she has a huge team of special educators working for her. So yeah, that contact also I can provide you with.
Thank you, Priyanka. I think that will be a great start for a lot of us. All right. So with this, thank you so much, everyone, for your time. Thank you for joining in, and hopefully we'll see you really soon again.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you.